Have you ever noticed something strange? No matter which billion-dollar company you look at, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Tesla, Nvidia, if you check their largest shareholders, the same name keeps appearing. BlackRock, again and again. Some people say BlackRock secretly owns the world. Others call it the most powerful company you've never heard of. But is that actually true? Can one company really control thousands of businesses without anyone noticing? Or is there a much bigger story hiding behind the headlines? Today, we're uncovering the rise of BlackRock, a company that doesn't make phones, doesn't build cars, doesn't sell coffee, yet somehow became one of the most influential financial institutions in human history. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why millions of people believe BlackRock owns everything. And why the truth is even more fascinating. The story begins in 1988. Long before BlackRock became a trillion-dollar giant. Its founder, Larry Fink, made one of the biggest mistakes of his career. While working at an investment bank, he made a prediction on interest rates. He was wrong. The mistake reportedly cost his company around $100 million. For most people, that would have ended everything. But for Larry Fink, it became the lesson that changed his life. He realized something. The biggest threat in finance wasn't making money. It was failing to understand risk. So instead of chasing quick profits, he built a company focused on one thing, managing risk better than anyone else. Together with 7 partners, he founded BlackRock. At first, almost nobody noticed. There were no famous advertisements, no revolutionary products, no celebrity CEO. Just a small investment firm helping large institutions manage their money. But while the world was looking somewhere else, BlackRock was quietly building something much bigger. Then came 2008, the year the global financial system almost collapsed. Banks failed, markets crashed, millions of people lost their jobs, governments were desperate. Nobody knew what many financial assets were actually worth anymore. So they turned to one company for help, BlackRock. Its expertise in managing risk suddenly became one of the most valuable resources in global finance. That moment changed everything. Large investors trusted BlackRock with more money. Pension funds, insurance companies, universities, governments, and eventually, millions of ordinary people. Year after year, the money kept growing. Hundreds of billions became trillions. Today, BlackRock manages more money than the annual economy of most countries. And that's exactly where the mystery begins. Because if BlackRock manages so much money, why does its name appear inside almost every major company on Earth? And does that really mean it owns them? Here's the part most people misunderstand. People often say BlackRock owns Apple, BlackRock owns Microsoft, BlackRock owns Amazon. Not exactly. BlackRock doesn't spend its own money buying these companies. It manages money on behalf of millions of people. Think about your retirement fund, your pension, your mutual funds, your ETF investments. When millions of people invest through BlackRock, that money has to go somewhere. So BlackRock buys shares across thousands of companies. Not because it wants to control them, but because that's how index funds work. Imagine 1 million people each invest just $1,000. That's $1 billion. Now imagine tens of millions of investors. Suddenly, you're managing trillions. And when you manage trillions, you naturally become one of the largest shareholders in the world's biggest companies. That's why BlackRock's name appears almost everywhere. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. BlackRock isn't alone. 2 other companies keep appearing beside it, Vanguard and State Street. Look at almost any Fortune 500 company, and you'll usually find these 3 names among the largest shareholders: Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, Tesla, Nvidia, Visa, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, again and again and again. This is exactly why people started asking, who actually owns the world? At first glance, it looks like these 3 companies control everything. But that's only half the story, because ownership and management are 2 very different things. The shares belong to millions of individual investors. BlackRock simply manages those investments. But even if it doesn't own all that wealth, managing it gives BlackRock something almost as powerful: influence. Because when you're one of the largest shareholders in thousands of companies, people pay attention. CEOs listen, boards listen, markets listen. And that's where BlackRock became something far bigger than an investment company. It became one of the most influential institutions in modern finance. But BlackRock's greatest weapon isn't the trillions it manages. It's a piece of technology almost nobody has ever heard of. And that technology quietly helps monitor trillions of dollars every single day. That technology is called Aladdin. No, not the Disney character. Aladdin is one of the most powerful financial software platforms ever created. Every day, it analyzes markets, measures risk, tracks investments, and helps some of the world's largest financial institutions make decisions involving trillions of dollars. Banks use it, insurance companies use it, asset managers use it, pension funds use it. Even governments have relied on its technology during times of financial crisis. Most people have never heard its name, yet it quietly sits behind a large part of the global financial system. And that's what makes BlackRock different. It didn't become powerful by creating the next iPhone. It didn't become powerful by inventing social media. It became powerful by becoming the company that helps other companies manage money. The company behind the companies. But here's the question everyone asks. Is that dangerous? Some experts say yes. They argue that when the same investment firms hold significant stakes in thousands of companies, they naturally gain enormous influence over corporate decisions. Others disagree. They argue BlackRock is simply doing its job, managing investments for millions of ordinary people, teachers, doctors, engineers, retirees, people saving for their future. So, does BlackRock secretly own the world? No, that's an exaggeration. But does it influence a huge part of the global economy? Without question. And maybe that's even more fascinating, because the most powerful companies aren't always the ones you see. Sometimes they're the ones working quietly behind the scenes. No advertisements, no famous products, no flashy marketing, just influence. Real influence. BlackRock reminds us of something most people never think about. Power isn't always about making headlines. Sometimes, power is managing the money that moves the world. The next time you hear the name BlackRock, don't ask, do they own everything? Ask a better question. How can one company become this influential without most people even knowing it exists? Because in today's world, the greatest empires aren't always built with factories, or technology, or products. Sometimes they're built on trust, on capital, and on quietly sitting behind the world's biggest businesses. I'm Behind the Empire. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe, because next time we'll uncover another hidden empire, another billion-dollar strategy, and another story hiding in plain sight.